Mark, where does Erik Karlsson rank of all the All-Stars that you have coached over your career?
Well, he's a really good defenseman. I think what I've learned to appreciate about him more than anything is that he can play both ends of the ice equally well. You saw even in the last game we played him against Connor McDavid for most of the night with Meth. There was a really good skating line with Draisaitl, and he shows his ability to defend, to read, to have a good stick, to make good clearing plays. And while that's not as exciting as his first two steps and his abilities offensively, it makes you a complete team. And we're pretty good defensively because we've got a good defensive core. And pretty much for most of the night we can have guys that are tough to get through defending. And I've really been pleased with Erik's defensive play all year.
Has anything surprised you about him as you've got to know him?
He's a unique character in terms of, he's a very creative thinker. He's a guy that's got a perspective that's not a lot like many other defensemen that I've had. So, like any gifted person, the specialty of him is probably in his creativity. It's in his God-given ability. And you just appreciate that he does things so well. He does things that most people can't. Again, it's his quickness off the line. It's his quickness into the play. It's his, like any great player, it's his vision, being able to see the play and to be able to get to an area before anybody else thinks of being there. And that sets him apart from most of the other really good defensemen in the league.
What were you thinking in reducing his minutes this year?
It's not really so much reducing his minutes. We've had an awful lot of opportunity to play a pretty good defensive core. I think Borowiecki has really taken a nice step for our club, and that's allowed us to play, maybe even out the minutes a little bit and keep guys a little bit fresher, especially our left side defensemen. I think our system is such that our left D are very, very assertive, and we've got three really assertive guys there in Dion, in Marc, and in the other Marc as well. And on the right side, we've got guys that really read the play extremely well and are very mobile. When you have, you can monitor minutes a lot better when you have a lot of options.
Mark, how come the offense hasn't been as consistent as you guys would like it to be?
Well, I don't know that it hasn't been consistent. I think you score goals when your team is humming on all cylinders. I think the league is it's a really tough league to score on. Right now, I've been out of the league for 4 years over in Europe, and the one thing that I do notice is people are positionally so strong now, and you've got to work through two layers usually to get an offensive chance. So your willingness to be committed to do the things that you have to do to fight through to areas to get scoring chances, it's just harder now than it was 5 or 6 years ago even. The style of play in the league is one where people play with pace, yes, but they also play with great defensive responsibility. People back check hard, they back pressure hard, they contain in the offensive zone extremely well. And I think goaltending is really good. You look at where good goaltenders are; they all have probably a 920 to 930 save percentage. So you not only, if you break through the layers of defense, you've got great goaltenders on most nights to try and beat as well. So it's a challenge, to say the least, to score in this league, and being good defensively is kind of the order of the day. You have to be good defensively if you're going to stand a chance.
Is the personnel here, though, to be a high-scoring team?
I think it's always all about commitment and desire and intensity and second effort and and maybe a little bit of puck luck goes along with it. But we've got a group that we like. We think we're going to continue to get better. Obviously, health plays into it a little bit. If you've got depth, you can see what we were like when we didn't have Smitty. The fact that we don't have Clark, when you add those dimensions, the good teams have depth on their third and fourth lines of scoring, and the teams that are challenged oftentimes and need to find people to be a little bit more assertive and a little bit more combative and try to find ways to produce offense.
You mentioned Zach Smith. How valuable a player is he? Intangibles beyond things that we don't always see?
Well, he's so strong on the puck. He's got a very good shot. He's fearless. He goes to the net, and I think he thinks the game pretty well. So he can play with more gifted offensive players like Brassard and like Stone. I think he's a very good complementary player. In today's game, building speed and carrying speed are a big part of what makes you successful, and I think Zach does that well. He carries speed really well. When he gets himself going, very difficult to stop. And when he's been successful lately, a lot of times it's been because of that. He's been able to keep a defender on the backside of him, and his hands are good enough that when he gets a little bit of a scoring chance, he's usually pretty threatening at the very least.
You also talked Key before you came in, but working with him day to day, how impressive have you been with the way he's handled everything here this year?
He is as detailed a guy as I've ever been around. I think his meetings are the best I've seen. Our team is really well prepared every night, and the structure of his meetings. You guys don't get to be in there, but it's impressive. He's very impressive with both the simplicity and the structure of his meetings, and that carries on. Like when you start hearing those things and you reinforce them with practice habits, and that's the difficulty of the National Hockey League. You don't get a lot of times like we have right here where you get a couple days to practice. You're able to reinforce the learning, but his structure and his simplicity are good. I think our guys are very clear on how they have to play. Obviously you always want to have 100% efficiency. It's unrealistic to think you're going to be at 100% all the time, but the more that you know how you have to play, the more that you can practice those things so that it gets set, the better you are.
There's been some crisis to deal with too. Clark at the start of the year, the two guys that were benched in the preseason. You see Craig Anderson's situation now, Bobby, that's last weekend. Everything ended up.
I think that the whole organization, that starts from the top. The organization is one that really, right from Pierre to Guy, they like input, and at the end of the day, they've got to make decisions, and they make them. I think we've got a mature team, and the leadership on the team is really maturing right now. So you're seeing Erik. I didn't know Erik before this year, but everybody tells me he's taken a big step this year. I've been really impressed with him. Dion really helps. Chris Neal, Chris Kelly, those guys that have been around, they don't get flustered. When things happen, they're able to take a deep breath, to calm people down, and I really see it on the bench. Like the other night when Edmonton scored the goals and came back, the talk on the bench was very reassuring. And it's great if it's coming from your players. You expect coaches to hopefully say the right things, but when your players are saying the right things, that's really where it's at. And our players were saying the right things.